December 21st, 2017. Guys, this is a very, very important video. And I want to give a shout out and a thanks to Roy Potter. Roy, forgive me if I get this wrong. I think it's Lieutenant Colonel. Please forgive me if I got that wrong, but thank you for your service, and God bless you. But Roy came in a video a few moments ago and talked about some of the things we were talking about earlier, but he added something so important. First, he talked about Jeff Sessions going after Uranium One. Then he caught this, and God bless you, Roy. But it says, this is whitehouse.gov executive orders. Executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. Guys, that's a nuclear bomb. You understand what just happened? Where did it start? It started in Saudi Arabia. They came in there, took all these princes down that were for New World Order backing the Clintons and Obama. Took them down, did the same thing there. They locked them up until they forfeited everything. Guys, this is the ultimate takedown. Now, there's something very important about it you can't forget, but first, let's read through this executive order. It says, by the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Guys, you think that Trump does not know how to play multiple level chess games at the same time? Unbelievable. Thank you, President Trump. It says the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, names several here in different codes, says I, Donald Trump, President of the U.S., find that the prevalence and severity of human rights abuse and corruption that have their source in whole or in substantial part outside the U.S., such as those committed or directed by persons listed in the annex to this order, have reached such scope and gravity that they threaten the stability of international political and economic systems. Man, guys, you thought you elected a powerful president. Now you're finding out how powerful he is. We still have to be aware of one thing, and don't let me forget it. I mentioned it before at the end of the video, that you have to be aware of. Also, this goes on to say human rights abuse. Guys, you think that involves pedophilia and child trafficking? And corruption undermine the values that form an essential foundation of stable, secure, and functioning societies. The Bible tells us this. Have devastating impacts on individuals. Imagine, guys, many of you are my age or younger, but imagine as a child being kidnapped or abducted or taken out of a hurricane or earthquake devastated area by the Red Cross or the Clinton Foundation and sold to Satan. It says weaken. They weaken democratic institutions, have devastating impacts, degrade the rule of law, perpetuate violent conflicts, facilitate the activities of dangerous persons, and undermine the economic markets. The U.S. seeks to impose tangible and significant consequences on those who commit serious human rights abuse or engage in corruption, like Uranium One, as well as to protect the financial systems of the United States from abuse by these same persons. I therefore determine that serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, and I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with the threat. It says, I hereby determine and order, Section 1, all property and interest in property that are in the United States that hereafter come within the U.S. or that are or hereafter come within the possession of control of any U.S. state's person, of the following persons are blocked and may not be transferred, paid, exported, withdrawn, or otherwise dealt in. Guys, this is a crushing blow. But let me say this before I tell you the end of the video. When Satan knows he has but a short time, he's running back and forth. He is like a wounded lion. He knows he's defeated, but he wants to take as many people down with him as he can through his evil. It says the persons listed in the annex to this order. Now, we don't know the list yet, but we all could just about bet a large amount of money on who it is. Any foreign person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State and Attorney General to be responsible for or complicit in, or to have directly or indirectly engaged in serious human rights abuse. Guys, do you realize why Canada abstained from a vote in the video before this when Nikki Haley condemned the U.S.? Canada just decided not to vote because it's called chicken something. You understand what I'm saying? And because they're trying to balance and keep the power of the United States, which they've enjoyed for a long time. Not talking about the wonderful people in Canada, talking about your corrupt politicians. And now you've got someone running against Trudeau that will bring in a new world order. Guys, you better check it. Listen to what I'm telling you. You better watch your elections. And neither one of the people running now need to be in place. It says to be responsible for or complicit in or to have directly or indirectly engaged in serious human rights abuse. This is not, we're talking about, of course, there's adults in the slave trade and things like that, but we're talking about mostly the pedophiles. To be current or former government official, listen, to be a current or former government official or person acting for or on behalf of such an official who is responsible for or complicit in or has directly or indirectly engaged in 1. Corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, like uranium, the exploitation of private assets for personal gain, corruption related to government contracts, or the extraction of natural resources or bribery. Guys, uranium 1 this is what they're talking about. Now, number 2, what did Mueller do? Did he transfer some yellow cake uranium? It says the transfer or the facilitation of the transfer of the proceeds of corruption. That includes money back and forth between the Russians and the Canadians and the Clinton Foundation. And C, to be or have been a leader or official of. Now, who was the leader during that time? He was in the White House. Number 1, an entity, including any government entity that has engaged in, FBI, CIA, NSA, or whose members have engaged in any of the activities described in subsections, and it gives the numbers there, of this section relating to the leaders of official tenure or an entity, listen, Uranium One, the truck company that transferred the uranium through Canada, an entity whose property and interest in property are blocked pursuant to this order as a result of activities related to the leaders or official tenure, or to have attempted to engage in any of the activities described in the subsections listed here. Guys, I'm going to put a link to this so you can read the whole thing. What they're saying is all the politicians that were involved in this, many on both sides of the aisle, the president, all the leaders, all these mansions you have, all this money you thought you had, you're about to be broke and imprisoned. And possibly, because you betrayed the country, you may have a military court. You may have either death or Guantanamo Bay. And you deserve it. You deserve it because so many people here love this country. We love the entire world. We love everybody. We try to get along. But going back to the Albert Pike letter for the beginning of World War III was to turn the people against each other and to bring about World War III. Why? To destroy, you said, Christianity, other things. To bring about what? You said, Albert Pike, in your letter for the New World Order, to bring about the Luciferian doctrine. So, are we at the point to where peace and prosperity that we're talking about? Then comes sudden destruction? That's what the Bible tells us. But I want to say something else. Remember when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, guys? He kept telling the angels, go there, find me a dozen people. I don't remember the numbers exactly. I'd have to go look it up. They couldn't do that, so the numbers kept going down. God kept lowering his expectation to save the city. Finally, it got down to where, after they got Lot and everybody out of there, the city was completely destroyed. But God gave us the option. So prayer now can help with this situation that's about to occur on this planet. Peace and prosperity, when they preach it, comes sudden destruction. Prayer overcomes everything. If God would have found that in Sodom and Gomorrah, the destruction would have not been what it was. Are you listening? This is a heads up, guys. Be safe.